Our speaker this morning is Wesley Connelly. Wesley is a four-year student from Alverson, PA. He plays varsity football and is a member of jazz band. He is the proud roommate of Justin Toomey and the proud brother of Callie Connelly. Wesley.
Morning. Varsity might be a stretch, but it's really good to be here. Standing up in front of you all, my mind is drawn back to years prior. When I sat in here as a third former, fourth former, fifth former, and listened to the then sixth formers delivering speeches, telling us advice for academics, athletics, being a day student, being a boarder. They shared stories of mistakes they made and learned from, moments they wish they could have back, all in the hopes of preventing the younger students from making the same mistakes. But I'm here to do the opposite. We'll never be able to put an end to the missteps and errors made by Hill students year after year. No amount of advice or cautionary tales will be able to protect us from ourselves. So I'm here to encourage you all to make your own mistakes, to own it, and to take away the lesson that will be presented. No amount of advice can keep us from making mistakes, and I think that's a good thing, because invariably, we'll all have to learn for ourselves, and we will. We all have to do the same boneheaded things and learn in our own time, because the only way out of high school is to go through it. There's no shortcuts through the pain and the embarrassment, but there's also no shortcuts through the fun and the amazing memories. You just have to take it one day at a time and embrace it all. So just like a lot of other chapel talks, I'll tell you a few stories. Stories about mistakes and poor decisions that led to embarrassment, bad grades, fights with friends, and other problems. But the key difference here is I don't want these moments back. I'm not telling you a cautionary tale. I'm not trying to prevent you from making my mistakes. I'm encouraging you to make your own mistakes, because that's how we learn and grow. And isn't that the point of high school? The first story comes from my first day here, literally, September 1st, 2018. In the weeks leading up to the start of school, the athletic department had sent out the afternoon activities survey, prompting all new students to select their activity for each term. Now, I hadn't been too much of a sports guy, so I wasn't sure what to sign up for. I didn't like soccer, couldn't stand the thought of running cross country, and I hadn't become interested in football. So I was left with a limited slate. On the drop-down menu, I saw something called water polo. I had never heard of it before, and it seems like it might have been my only option. I looked up some videos of gameplay on the internet and tricked myself into thinking that it looked fun. So I thought I'd take a flyer and give it the old college try. With my little to no swimming ability and general athletic mediocrity, I was not poised for success. And I didn't help matters with my second bad decision. I had also heard that male swimmers shave their bodies to eliminate drag. I thought that was the expectation. And it would look like total amateur hour if I showed up with hairy legs. So the night before my first day of school, I took my razor, which is my face razor, by the way, and completely shaved my arms and legs. It felt regrettable the moment I started, but I was determined not to look out of place with the swimmers. And because I'd never done it before, it was a slapdash job. Big mispatches, a bunch of cuts, real shoddy work. And even worse, because of that, it was obvious that I had tried shaving and failed. When I rolled up to practice, no one else had done what I did, of course. So I was standing there with razor nicks all over my limbs, wearing swim trunks that hung down way past my knees, looking like a goon. In the attempt to look like I knew what I was doing, I exposed myself as a newbie and completely embarrassed myself. The embarrassment got so bad that I didn't even stick around for the whole practice. I left after 2 warm-up laps with Coach Jones telling me, "I don't think this is the sport for you, son." If you're out there, Mr. Jones, there's no hard feelings. But the thing is, I don't want that moment back. I learned that being inauthentic about your experiences will usually backfire, and it's better to take the small embarrassment of not knowing than try to appear more experienced or knowledgeable than you are. And it's kind of funny to think about now, but still mostly embarrassing. This is the sort of embarrassment that we've all faced before, and no amount of advice would be able to replicate the slap in the face that that feeling creates. And it's in that feeling where you learn your lesson. The second event I'll talk about happened a few months later. It was winter term in my Spanish 1 class, and the deadline was coming up for our first major project. It was a video project, and we were expected to show our understanding of and ability with present tense conjugations of verbs. We were given the rubric, and a week went by without me giving the project a second thought. It wasn't until the due date that a frantic text from my friend had reminded me that we put the project off all the way until the day it was set to be turned in. We met in the hallway outside the classroom and did the project in the 7-minute passing period before class. It ended up being about 35 seconds long and rife with mispronunciations and grammatical errors. We shamelessly turned it in anyway, and the following week, the teacher handed out grades. We had gotten a 48%. We were not happy with one another. It was by far the lowest grade I'd ever received. My teacher was mad at me, and I was pretty upset. Getting a failing grade was kind of scary. Now I can see that the one grade doesn't matter, but at the time I was upset and embarrassed. By that point, I'd already heard dozens of times that I'd have to work hard at Hill and that good grades wouldn't just get handed out. But I still ended up putting off my work and phoning it in. But after that experience, the lesson stuck. None of the advice took hold, but I just had to find my own way. But by far the biggest mistake that I made was feeling angry, frustrated, and hopeless about things I can't change. The struggles of being a first-year boarder, of sports, COVID rules, dress code rules, hair length rules. A lot of things were out of my control. And letting myself agonize over these things led to some dark times. I isolated myself from my friends, slacked off on my assignments, and it just brought me down. I was only focusing on the negatives. That led to bad times and bad feelings. But coming out on the other side of it, I wouldn't take that back. The perspective that I gained from those mistakes, I guess, has proved invaluable in resetting my attitude and becoming a more centered person. That's the point I'm trying to get across in this talk. It's critical that you make your own mistakes. It's not just critical, it's inevitable that you're going to make your own mistakes. And you have to be okay with that because that's the only way you learn. Throughout my experiences at the Hill School, I learned how to handle failure, embarrassment, rejection. I've dealt with hurt feelings and bruised egos. And every time I thought that I had it all figured out, that I was done making predictable high school mistakes, I'd make another one. So my advice to you isn't some way to avoid mistakes or live without slip-ups. It's to make sure that you get the most out of every single mistake you do. No one's perfect, and no one has all the answers. It's up to each one of us to live our lives and learn from everything we do. So I encourage you all to not be afraid of making mistakes. I encourage you all to embrace your inexperience and your cluelessness and trust that you'll come out the other end a better person for it. Thank you.